You're taking a risk on yourself. There is no promise of riches at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. You could just as easily shit the bed as you could hit a home run.
The performance of stainless steel, the durability of cast iron, and the convenience of non-stick. Welcome to HexClad.
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 Co-founder and CEO of HexClad, Danny Weiner.
You're not looking at anything but the end goal, which is, I know the product is good. Shame on me if I can't tell the story with it, so you see that the product is good.
Before we dive in, I want to extend a warm invitation to join our thriving founder community. It's the perfect place to discover more insightful interviews aimed at helping you build, grow, and scale your business. So don't forget to hit subscribe. Your support means the absolute world to us. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get stuck in today's discussion.
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Founder Podcast with Nathan Chan.
Warning, I can try to behave, but I do swear some. I'm not a sailor, but I'm just barely a step above with the language.
Yeah, that's fine. Just fine. That's fine. Just be yourself, man.
If I go overboard, go like, hey, my mom listens to this.
No, it's all good. It's all good. All right. So the first question that I ask everyone that comes on, Danny, is how did you get your job? AKA, how did you find yourself doing the work you're doing today?
Probably the simplest question. Very often, I guess, with a really complicated answer. You know, the journey would go on. I moved to Los Angeles really to be in the entertainment business. So I was one of those, came from New York where the actor / writer / director / bartender, which is what I really wound up being. And I always, though, had a background in loving food. My entire family was in the restaurant business in a smaller city in the U.S., Buffalo, New York. And my grandmother became the first female head chef. She had to open a restaurant to do it because women just did not get those opportunities in the 1950s. And so she was a very, very strong woman, a great presence in my life. But she, not only instilled a work ethic because she was forced to quit school by her father in the 3rd grade to sell vegetables to help support the family because boys got educations. Well, that she taught me a love for food and for cooking. So when what I thought was my initial dream wasn't really working out, it was a very easy transition for me to try to somehow get into that business. And to be honest, I'm a pretty good cook. If I had you over for dinner, you'd be like, that's good. But I'm not a great chef. I'm a good home cook. So I knew I wasn't going to go that route. And, I had a university friend, and he was trying to be in entertainment. And he said to me real quickly, he said, listen, I need some help this weekend. I go, why? What do you need? He goes, I'm going to sell cookware at the Los Angeles County Fair, and I need somebody to write up the orders for me. He's like, I'll give you $500. And I'm like, $500, sweet. I'm there. And I watched him sell this product, and I was like, this is kind of fascinating. This is a great product. I wound up doing it with him. I got good at it. He's like, hey, whenever you want to work, come on out. He's like, I got work for you. And I got good. I started doing it myself on the weekends, still trying to pursue the dream during the week. Cut to, I get offered to come in and be the national sales manager. Then I get offered to be the VP of sales. And, and you have those couple of pivotal moments in your life where you go like, fuck, thank God I went left instead of right. And I remember the day I went to the owner of the company and I had Facebook up and I said, look, our model is antiquated. This is where we need to live on Facebook. We got to create a community. And he did the hand to the face and he goes, trust me, kid, this Facebook thing is never going to last. And I said, okay. And I walked out and I said, I got to start my own company. And that got me to make that leap, the terrifying leap into being a founder.
Yeah, there you go. And then tell us, how did you start HexClad? What did the first 60 days of like you, so you left, what did that next 60 days look like starting the business? What did the first 60 days look like? Talk us through that.
So, it's hard to put it in a 60-day term, because I would say this, like, one, I was leaving something, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I just know I have to do something on my own. So there's this leap of faith you're taking, and there's a level of openness you have to have. Like, I always felt I had a gift for knowing what a consumer wanted, but also finding a way to tell a story to make a compelling value prop to that person that would make them want to buy it. So what I started doing was, when I was still at my old job, I would get on a 5 p.m. Friday night flight to Hong Kong to go looking for products and inventors, and I'd show up there at 5 p.m. on Saturday, and I'd go to the Hong Kong Electronics Fair for 2 hours, and then I'd go all day Sunday, and then at 6 a.m. on Monday, I'm on that flight back to LAX, and I'm in my office at noon telling everybody I had a dentist appointment that morning. And, I just did what I had to do, just try to find that inspiration. And by the way, HexClad was my second product. I failed on the first one. My co-founder and I misread the market, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I took what I learned from the failure and was able to really laser focus it into HexClad.
Can you tell us what that product was and what happened?
Sure. My co-founder and I, we were very much into the juicing craze that was happening about 10 years ago. And in the US, people were starting to buy these fresh, cold pressed juices. So we're like, we want to market a really innovative juicer, because we believed in the health benefits. So we sourced this great juicer from Korea. We brought it to the US market, and we pretty much launched in 14, and the second half of 14 and 15, it did great. And Nathan, it was like the bottom fell out overnight. It was, I got scared because two things happened. I remember in the same week. And I was in LA at this place called Beverly Hills Juice Club. And I watched this girl go in, and she's like, I want one juice. He goes, $7. And she goes, can you put half on this card and half on this card? And I go, holy shit. She doesn't have $7 on her one card, but she won't make juice at home. That was like an aha moment. And I flew to New York 2 days later, and every bidet guy walked into had a juice bar in it now. So I'm like, we're kind of fucked. But that's like the thing, when you the hardest thing I ever had to do was pull the plug on that. Like, I was in the juicer business on a Tuesday, and Wednesday morning we were out of business. And it's humiliating. And, and friends who were like maybe envious that I had taken the plunge, some rooting for you, maybe some not rooting for you. But I had to let everybody know in a way that I'd failed on that. The only silver lining there was I'd already started working on HexClad, because one thing Cole, my co-founder, and I were smart. We wanted to have a suite of products. We knew that going in. So we were never going to stop looking for the next best thing.
Yeah, got you. So can you tell us, like, how much money did you lose in the first venture, man?
It wasn't as bad as it could have been. They were lucky. I would say this, like, one thing, you want to call yourself a founder or an entrepreneur. I've said this forever, and I heard somebody say it the other day, and I'm like, I look at their office. Like, you still go into my office right now. We did $400 million in revenue. The couch is a hand-me-down couch in my office. The desk I bought at a used desk store. I'm like, I can't throw money into that shit. I have to spend everything prudently and judiciously to grow the business. That's the only thing. I got paid last. Everybody got paid first. And if money's tight, I didn't get paid, and that's okay. I was in it for the long haul. So we did lose a few $100,000 when it was done. It could have been worse. If we had been frivolous, it could have been worse. And I think what the juicer though got me was a respect for the money, whether it's my money or somebody else's money. And it's a good thing I got that, because once I designed HexClad, and we went out to raise money. I was shocked that the cold is the understatement of the year. The almost hostile and comical reception I got when I went in and said, like, okay, we're a new cookware company. We have the first innovative thing I've ever seen in cookware since the advent of nonstick cookware in the 50s. Nothing new had happened. I mean, people, they're still selling cast iron skillets. So I I'm saying we have something new here. And they said, well, how the hell are you going to get shelf space for it? How are you going to get rid of the legacy brands? I go, aha. We don't want to get rid of the legacy brands because we're going to be the first D2C cookware company. And they heard that and they're like, okay, thanks for stopping by. It's nice meeting you. And nobody would invest. So Cole and I looked at each other and we were like, believed in it. And we cashed out all our retirements, 401ks. We started applying for credit cards, and then we'd max that card out. We get a new card and pay off the minimum with that card. And, it was incredibly stressful. And this was during this period, the juicer was ending in 16. We were starting Hexclad November of 16, but it didn't get any traction until the end of 17. So, I mean, I was having those panic nights of waking up at 4 a.m, like,
Heart beating fast. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm all in. I am all in. I don't. I was going to be back to being that bartender again if I got screwed.
Yeah, it's interesting. But now, like you said, you guys are a massive business. The speed in which the company's grown, like, from where you are in the space of 6, 7, 8 years to being turning over 400 million annual revenues, it's really impressive. And when you look back on those times, were they still some of the funnest times?
I read one time that, like, our bodies are designed to forget pain a little bit. That's why women will have a second child. It's so painful, but we forget that. So yes, I think of it as a simpler time. I forget about how stressed out I was. But I wouldn't change it for anything, because there is something knowing you're taking a risk on yourself, and there is no promise of riches at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. You could just as easily shit the bed as you could hit a home run, as we say in American baseball. It's that. So I do look back though fondly when it was simple. We didn't have enough money when we got the cookware shipped from the factory. We found out it was going to cost X number of dollars to get it. If it was already packaged in the box, it was going to be triple that. So we're like, well, send it unboxed. And we went in Cole's backyard and we just lined it up and we started boxing it up ourselves, putting in the instructions ourselves. And then in the beginning, well, I guess we were getting our first D2C orders. We would drive to the UPS store and ship it ourselves, because that was it. It was just the two of us at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you said that it took like at least a year to get traction. What was talk us through from a mindset perspective, how you stayed focused when it was struggling to take off, and where you found hope and how you worked through that. Because I think that trough or trough of sorrow, I don't know how you best pronounce it, but that's common in every founder's journey, right?
Yes. And that's a great question, because what happens is, one, you can do something. You hear about these companies every now and then they launch, they pretty much, and somehow a few of them, they just explode immediately. The right influencer sees it 2 weeks later and everybody wants it, but that's not the norm. So now what happens is a storm of self-doubt and you question, do I have the right strategy? Do I have the right messaging? Do I understand the addressable market and their needs? And I think if you don't immediately come up with a better answer for any of those questions, you got to believe in yourself that your initial objective and goal and message is right. You just haven't delivered it the right way yet. And so I stayed that we were the rebel cookware. We used to call it, we're like in a simple phrase, somebody asked me, I'm like, we're badass cookware. We're not grandma's cookware. Grandma wants to use it too, because grandma's a freaking badass. And my 8-year-old niece is a badass. We all have a badass inside of us, and we're the cookware for that. We're not the dainty cookware that you can't use in metal utensils. We're not the super heavy, clumsy, clunky cast iron cookware. We're innovative, badass cookware, and we had to get that message out. And you know what? Finally, first thing that like tweaked the algorithm a little bit was we did a Facebook static image, and we had this really great photo of our pan, and we just put underneath it, who says cookware can't be sexy? And then all of a sudden we had hundreds of comments, and most of them were like some old lady going, why do you people have to make everything about sex? Sex. But it didn't matter, because all of a sudden we were getting engagement, and then that person's yelling at the old lady and this one. So, and then we started selling a few pans slowly. And I will say this, we've only had one retail partner in the US ever, and it's Costco. And in the US, Costco is a really strange animal because it should be uncool, but it isn't. It's like people like brag about their savings, and you'll like in LA, you'll pull in, just park next to a Rolls Royce, and that guy's going there for that $5 roast chicken that they sell. But the good thing about Costco, when we made the deal with them, what I loved was they love you telling the story. So they love when you set up in the booth and somebody tells you a story in the store about a new product, just like they love to give out cheese samples and things like that. So we were like, I can tell the story one of two ways. I can tell it in 30 seconds on Instagram, or I can tell it in a minute and a half in Costco. And what that Costco thing did, which was really like a bit of a cheat code for us, it was like instant data collection about what is working, what people are responding to. You know, you say the same thing and 10 times people walk away. Well, the 11th time you change something new and you go, oh, aha, that resonated. So now how do we incorporate that into paid? And that's like pretty quickly, once we started the Costco relationship, we started having significant growth through our D2C channels, because it gave us a chance to actually try new messaging that had some foundational background to it.
That's really interesting. You're bringing me back to a time where if you sell, you work out how to sell a product, you're selling it live, and you get the messaging right, you work out what the pain points are, you work out the benefits, you work out why people are buying, and then you take that and then you can automate it, or you can use technology to scale that out and scale out that messaging. But oftentimes you might have a great product, but if you don't get the messaging right, you can fall on deaf ears.
You're so right, Nathan. That's exactly it. I'll see stuff sometimes. I'm like, that is a great thing. And I don't know what they're doing. Whether it's a poor website design. Look, everybody can have navigational issues with a website that needs constantly needs tweaking. But some people, like, it won't match their product. It won't, the messaging is muddied or non-linear in a way that it makes it more difficult for the consumer to digest. But yeah, the messaging is key, right? How do you hit somebody with a value prop, and making sure it's the right value prop? Because I will tell you this, you might have a different value prop than I do, right? And so it's finding the commonality of what's going to make you open your wallet and what's going to make me open my wallet. And then we can support that decision with more nuanced value propositions that are going to, resonate with different customers, at a greater degree or lesser degree of success.
Yeah. So I'm curious, a lot of our listeners and viewers and community members, they're working on a product right now, a physical product. Can you talk us through the process that you went through to create, the first version, HexClad prototype, How did you know it was right? How did you test it? Did you do anything in the market? Talk us through that. Were you speaking to people, sharing samples with them? Like, talk us through that and that process.
So again, all good questions. So really it starts like, very often, let me take that back. In our case, we kind of knew what we were looking for. We were very intrigued about getting back into the cookware space after struggling with the juicer. We knew that this cookware is kind of recession proof. There's very few products that are, because when the economy gets bad, people are home cooking. When the economy is good, they go out to a nice restaurant, they try something, but then they want to try to replicate it at home. So that excited me about the space. And like I said, we haven't had a dip during any of the economic uncertainties that have arisen from COVID. So, one, you can find a product and say, hey, that's a great product. Maybe I can get a distribution deal and want to bring it to a new market. If you have an idea, like an idea that could be protected potentially by IP, that's slightly different. You could also find something, which is what we kind of did. I didn't invent the laser etching hexagon technology. I met the gentleman who did. It was making Korean barbecue plates. And I was like, this is game changing, because immediately, to me, in my head, it was a frying pan. And how do we work on it? And at that point, he was like, oh yeah, I think it'll work. And he and I started working on it. And he's in Korea and I'm in Los Angeles, and we're designing the first version. And then he would send it to me, like handmade samples, and I would test them out. Like, I cook, and so you want to test it, and I'd be like, you know what, pan's too thin. It got a hot spot. Now it's too thick. It takes forever to heat up. Can we put the hexagon design on the outside? Because people hate when pans get burnt and gross looking on the bottom. So it was like, that's what I did during, I'd say, from April of 15 to about August of 16. So like, we're just spending money on developing pans at that point. So we were not in a place to order something. So I'd say what you have to do is, one, you got your idea. Can you design that idea yourself? If you can't, you got to find a really reputable engineering firm, product design firm to help you with it. What level of IP do you have? Like, usually the greater it is, the more you're going to pay in developmental costs. And then you got to find that manufacturer, wherever it is in the world, that does your type of product well, that you can trust, and then start, a manufacturing process. And the weird thing is, I'd say one of the hardest challenges is figuring out your demand planning with that. Like, how do you know what to order, how much of each SKU? And like, our biggest challenge in like 18, 19, and 20 was our factory couldn't grow as fast as we were selling product. So we left a lot of money on the table. We never sold out. Like, I hate that. Oh, the pan that sold out 25 times. I'm like, well, you need a better demand planner. And even though it's a marketing ploy, and we have had stuff sold out, I want to brag that, everybody wants our stuff. So we've dumped every penny into manufacturing, so, it's a tough road from idea to product development, to product manufacturing, to distribution, to marketing.
And how did you know, though? How did you know that it would work? Was it when you first saw the sample, the first version, you're like, yep, we've got it? Or how did you know? What gave you the certainty to go all in?
This is me. As soon as you said it, I just subconsciously crossed my fingers, because there was a bit of a cross finger moment, because I'd been in this space and I did cook. I'm somebody that, sometimes people go into space, like, listen, my co-founder will be very happy to tell you the only thing he makes is eggs. That's it. He doesn't cook anything else. So he had to rely on me. What I did was I took his Korean barbecue plate and I tried cooking some stuff on it. And really, what I love was the durability. And I'm like, the durability is the hardest thing to figure out. So I said, well, let's start there. I can create it now. If we've got the durability, I can kind of subtly change the pan to really fine tune the functionality. And you know what? It was great looking from the beginning. It was a sexy pan. It was game changing. And then some things I did when I finally had like what I thought was the pan figured out, they maybe made me 100 pieces and sent them to me. And I used to go to these, we called Venice, California, Silicon Beach, because, all the tech companies moved down. So I go to these like cocktail parties with all the tech bros, and I'd bring a frying pan and show them. And they'd be like, bro, that's amazing. I don't cook, but you know what? It'll look great hanging in my kitchen. I'm like, you're goddamn right it will, And so they were responding to the look. There are people that didn't care about the functionality. So I knew we had the form down, and I knew from personal experience we had the functionality down. And then we started giving it to chefs, and that was the scary thing, because we didn't design it for chefs. I said this to Gordon Ramsay. I said, we didn't design it for Michelin-starred chefs. We designed it for the home chef. And it's so gratifying that the greatest chefs in the world love our product. That's like,
Yeah. So what gave you the certainty was just getting people to try it, and then you were so close to the problem that you were solving, and you could see how people reacted when they got to see the product, feel the product, and you knew that the functionality worked.
Yes. Essentially you answered the question you asked me, and I kind of went around it. But yeah, it's quite that. It's really that simple. And you know what? And there is, you have to have this almost myopic view on it. Like, you're not looking at anything but the end goal, which is, I know the product is good. Shame on me if I can't tell the story with it, so you see that the product is good. So when you have that kind of laser focus with it, you're getting I knew it was good. So I'm like, screw it. I'm cashing out one more retirement plan, and I'm going to pay the tax penalties for early withdrawal.
Yeah, that's so cool. What a great story. Thank you for sharing. Now you have to tell us, you mentioned before the Gordon Ramsay partnership, right? Like, that's been huge for your business. I'd love to hear, one, the story, how it came about, and then also for founders that are listening, what advice would you give to them when it comes to working with thought leaders, working with creators or influencers or celebrities to be somewhat ambassadors or partners and really helping drive the growth of a product?
And, so there's a lot there with it that you just said. And I would say this, one, in that before you can get to the time you have a Gordon Ramsay or anyone else that, is supporting you from an ambassador's standpoint, I would say this to everyone: ask a lot of questions and ask for tough love. It's amazing how once HexClad got successful, it's amazing how many people I trusted were like, yeah, I kind of never was too excited about the juicer. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that? Maybe your opinion was the one that would have made me go, let me step back for a moment and see, is this a viable business or is this a fad? And I didn't ask those questions. I've learned since, and ask for tough love. People need to tell you that's a stupid idea or that they love the idea. And that's the thing. Like, more and more people were like, the cookware is a fucking hit. No matter what you have to do, make it happen. So when you get to that point, then you start on a lower scale, like out with us, hitting up some chefs. And we hit a couple like local LA Michelin starred chefs, and they love the pans. I think for people, when you get the pros, it doesn't matter what, when they get behind it, I think most people that are the best in their craft take their reputation incredibly serious, and they're not going to associate with something they don't believe in. There might be a time that people sell out. There are chefs out there that I know are selling products that they don't really believe in, that show up on television because they're getting a very handsome payday. And I can't begrudge them. Everybody's got to make their money, right? So, but I think we are, I think people tend to compromise their personal ethos maybe a little more as we get older than we do in our youth, right? The most passionate music is created by young artists. The most passionate writings are by these young, groundbreaking writers. So I think that, when you get those people on board, then you kind of move up. And like in art, we were very lucky with Gordon. I mean, he is an amazing partner, and he's a partner in the company. I mean, it's really strange. Like, one thing, we couldn't raise money. So Cole and I totally self-funded the company, which meant we kept the entire company. I never had to kowtow to any VC money. I could do whatever the hell I wanted. And I did some crazy things, and knock on wood, I was right and they worked out. A few things didn't, but almost always it did. And so when I found out, I got a phone call from the guy who was managing our social, and he goes, "Hey, Danny, it's Sean." He goes, "Do you know Gordon Ramsay's following us on Insta?" I'm like, "No, I don't know that." He goes, "Should I reach out?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So he DMs Gordon, "We're HexClad, love to send you some pans." And whoever was managing it at the time reached out and said, "Oh, Gordon has one of your pans and he loves it. But yeah, if you want to send some more, great. We'll give you an address." And then my Sean goes, "Oh, by the way, does Gordon have a cookware deal?" And Gordon's person goes, "I don't know. I don't think so, but I'll let you know." Cut to like 3 days later, I'm on the phone with Gordon's business manager. And, he's calling me from London. I had to pull into some parking lot on the Sunset Strip. And I'm there in my car doing the call. And, he's like, "Gordon likes your pans. Somebody sent him one during the pandemic right now. And he's been home cooking with his family. He's been locked up in Cornwall with his family for the better part of a year." And, this was probably like late summer of 20. And he goes, "Well, listen, Gordon likes the pan. So if you want to pay him a lot of money to do a commercial, he'll probably do it because he likes it. But he really likes the product. He'd be open to doing something more robust." And I go, "Well, I like the sounds of that. Talk to me. What does more robust mean?" And he's like, "Well, look, Gordon likes to get very involved. If he likes something, he is very involved." And he goes, "And the thing about Gordon is, he's time poor." I go, "Well, yeah, I can tell. The guy's everywhere, He goes, "But when Gordon's involved, you will get more than you paid for, or more than you bargained for," is what he said. And I said, "More than I bargained for?" I go, "Is that a promise or a threat?" And he goes, "Both." I'm like, "Sounds perfect." And a couple conversations. And then during the pandemic, we did a Zoom call one morning. So it was like 8:30 in the morning in LA, and it was like 5:30 for Gordon in Cornwall. And I had 20 minutes scheduled for it. And we spent an hour and a half just like spitballing about what we would do and how we would market it and where we would place it. And he's like, I love it, and it's holding up so well. I want to put it in the restaurants, and it was like amazing. And it was like we hit it off there, and I'm like, this guy fucking rocks, you know. And I will tell you, since then, he is a great partner. You know, he owns the third biggest chunk of the company, and he'll call me with like design ideas, product ideas. You know, he'll incorporate us. I mean, last week he called me. He's like, fly with me to Miami for the opening of my restaurant. And I'm like, is that a real invitation? Because he's Gordon Ramsay. And I'm like, well, I do have some meetings. And I go, well, I think I can cancel them. And he goes, you know what? It would mean a lot to me. And I'm like, I'm there. You know, and I kind of go like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the Michael Jordan of cooking. And, you know, and for us, it couldn't be better. And because not only is Gordon the hardest working person I've ever met, and he's a TV host a lot now, somehow he has kept his street cred. Every chef acts like the Pope walked in. They could have 3 Michelin stars, and Gordon is still the most respected chef. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Wow. What a crazy story. So thank you so much for sharing, man. So what I'm hearing, just in summary, is build a great product, and really, if you see kind of the opportunity, kind of just keep exploring it and see where things land. But just build that up. Like don't go out when you're first launching your business and expect that you're going to get all these crazy influencers like to promote you. It's just do the work.
Well, you know, and that's the case. And we have a ton of influencers, and I'll tell you, so many of them like didn't get paid in the beginning. They like the product. Some get paid. Now, actually, not that many get paid. Some I just give them product because they like it, but they post. And also, when you do have a good product, like we've had like a lot of celebrities who post. Cameron Diaz, Halle Berry, we didn't pay them. Most of them, I didn't even send them cookware. Like somebody gave it to them. And that's where it comes down to the product. People with integrity will support a product they believe in. And then obviously everybody needs to make a living. So if it makes sense for a founder to start these monetized relationships with influencers, celebrities, ambassadors, I think you definitely approach it. But I would always say never get out of your comfort zone with it, because they always start here. And sometimes they start really high and they stay really high, and that's just it. I would not risk your company finances for that. I wouldn't risk mortgaging your, say, marketing future. Like if you have to pull money from any type of other top of funnel initiatives that gets more qualified customers, I would say create your budget and stick to it. And then I would also say to anybody, like even if they get VC money, treat the money like it's your money. That I think is the most irresponsible thing. It's really easy to try to spend your way into a significant amount of market share, but you can't spend forever. The bill comes due at some day. So.
Yeah, no, look, this has been a really, really awesome conversation. I'm learning a ton. I know our audience would be in community. We have to work towards the hot seat round. So kind of rapid fire questions and answers. You good?
I was hoping we weren't going to do this part.
I
guess it's called the hot seat for a reason, right?
Yeah, you're prepared, man. You're prepared, all right? So what's your favorite thing to cook on a hex-clad pan?
My favorite, you know what? I'm a salmon fan, and there's a way to get the skin perfectly crispy, and I can't do it on a old traditional nonstick. Salmon skin in this hex-clad pan comes out fantastic.
If there was one thing that you wanted to share with our community that want to start their e-commerce store and that you wish you knew when you first started, what would that be?
I would ask them to seek out the advice that are people that are smarter than you. And by smarter, I just mean that they maybe have experience that you don't have, because sometimes I'm too proud to ask for help. Ask for help. It gets you from A to B much faster.
What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now?
Biggest challenge for us right now is we're having significant multinational growth, and figuring out or accepting the fact that certain American sensibilities don't translate to every geographic region, and being able to pivot to embrace the sensibility of that particular region.
Yep. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received about e-commerce and your business?
The best piece of advice was I met a Swedish businessman who kept bringing new products to Scandinavia. And he said to me, he goes, everyone thinks they know more than you. No one knows anything. He said, so if you feel it, dear, he goes, believe in it. And it was great advice, because a lot of people told me the cookware was going to fail. And, and the smarter people didn't.
Question. What's been the holy shit moment in your business?
Wow, that's so good. Because in a collection of holy shit moments, there are a lot. And I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you the most recent holy shit moment. And it was last night. At the James Beard Foundation gives out all the awards in the U.S. for, for like greatest chefs regionally and et cetera. And we're their official cookware. And I went to an event here in New York. And I had the daughter of a chef come up to me and say, your cookware wants me to want to cook more. And I said, wow. I go, that is awesome. I mean, and then it's like weird of everything that I think of, like what it could be and how nice it is to talk to Gordon Ramsay. I'm like, wait, now I'm back to where I was in 2016. That was like their initial message. And that was like a holy shit that like, sometimes you forget your DNA for a moment or two, but don't forget it for much longer than that. And then all of a sudden I was back where I was then. And that was like my last holy shit moment. And I'm like, thank you. That meant more than you know.
That's awesome. Well, look, Danny, thank you so much for just being so open, honest, just sharing crazy stories and just being real, like about the journey. And like you've put it all on the line. You've got the stories, you've got the proof, you've got the experience, the battle scars. And I know that people listening to this, wherever they're at in their journey, will really take so much from this. So thank you so much for your time and just giving back to our community. And congratulations on all of your success thus far. I look forward to continuing watching the journey.
I really appreciate it. Nathan, all the great stuff comes from some founder at some point. So, I just want to encourage people to keep doing it.
If you love this episode, make sure to check out my interview with Emma Grede on how solving a problem she was so passionate about led to the creation of Skims and Good American.
And so I do think so much of it starts with like addressing things that bother you, that you find, you've got to create a solution for, because, at the end of the day, you've got to be passionate enough and sometimes crazy enough to go round and round and round to actually solve a problem.